All right. Well, I told y'all that things were going to get really hype in the next episode. So this is the next episode. This is the Gleam Eyes. There's so much that goes on in this. I don't even really know where to start. I guess the only logical thing is to start back a few episodes ago. Remember whenever we were having the conversation about Lisbeth and her making the sword for him and whatnot? So she makes this pretty blue crystal-like sword for him, and yet he never uses it. It's very weird, right? I mean, they call back to that in this episode, but it was something I was going to point out and just kind of like be aloof about. But I didn't, so I'm just putting it at the beginning of this. That way it can sort of be like, oh, yeah, I didn't think about that. He did get the sword commissioned and he's not using it. So basically the beginning of this episode ends where the last one did. They saw the Gleam Eyes. They ran like a motherfucker away from that guy because obviously the two of them aren't going to be able to do anything about it. I mean, floor bosses in this game are like, you have to have a bunch of people. You have to. So, they back off. They run into Klein and his group, which there's a bit of, hilarity there. Klein's picking up on what's going on there between him and Asuna. He's like, you dog. He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, no, you dog. You just treat her right. All right. And actually before that, before he realizes what the situation is, he starts to try and hit on Asuna, and Kirito just fucking gut punches him. And he's like, why did I even do that? Emotions run high sometimes whenever you're dealing with someone you like. And so anyways, then they're sitting there talking, and the military walks up. The military. It's a guild, but they refer to them as the military. So they walk up, and the main leader, his name is Korvitz. And you wouldn't know it because of the way he's dressed, but you've met him before. He was the douchebag in episode 2, 1, something, that was screaming about cheaters and beaters and all that. He was that guy. And he's like leading this group of people that's clearly worn out. As soon as he says, all right, halt, they all fall to the ground like to catch their breath. They let go of their shields and weapons and stuff because they're exhausted. And then he comes up and he says, my group shares all information with everybody about everything. So I want your map data. He's like, oh, I was going to give it to you anyway, but okay. No need to be a dick about it. And so he gives him map data. And he's like, all right, thank you. Men, let's go. And he said, I really wouldn't go mess with the boss. Especially with your men being halfway dead and everything. And they ignore him. And so Kirito and Klein, they're like, maybe we should just follow behind them, make sure they don't do nothing stupid. So they do, and they eventually lose track of them, but they come to the boss door, and they're like, well, we didn't see them. They couldn't have went in there. And then they hear a scream. Of course they went in there. Of course they did. Why wouldn't they? So they look inside the door, and they're getting slaughtered. by the Gleam Eyes. And they don't really tell you ever what is running through Asuna's head. But for some reason, she just gets it. She's like, I'm going in. And so she runs in and just stabs this thing in the back a few times. And takes a punch to the face. And then that makes Kirito run in. And then that makes probably one of the best points with Klein ever. He just does this. And then runs after him. Because he's like, I gotta... And so, this is where, like I said before, one of the best moments in the entire series comes in. Alright, so Asuna's trying to save the knights, and Klein's trying to be there. I don't know. He didn't really do anything except for what's coming up. And Kirito's like, this is messed up. And then he has a flashback of Sachi, the girl that he promised that no matter what, he would save her. No matter what, he would save her. He would keep her safe. He had a flashback of her dying. And he was like, no, this is not going to happen. And so he continues to try and fight. And he starts to lose against this monster. And then he looks at Asuna and he looks at Klein, and then he looks straight ahead at the monster, and he sees that vision again of her dying with her last words, being mouthed that he couldn't hear. And something snaps. He's like, I don't have time to think. I just can't do it anymore. So he asked them, please, two of y'all distract him for just a few seconds. And he backs off, goes into his inventory and messes around. And this is where I come around with the thing about the other sword. Like, why hadn't he been using it? Well, he has, just not around anybody. See, somehow he has a secret skill that only he has. They never really delve into why. Something about maybe his speed stat or something. But he can dual wield. He can use two swords at once. He's the only person that can do it. And so he's equipping that other sword while they're fending it off, and then he just unloads on this monster. He's like, Starburst Stream. Okay, he probably made the name up himself, I would hope. But it's like a 50, 60 hit combo of just him slashing at this thing. And in the this is why I said previously, longer multi-hit things, while they do a lot of damage, they also leave you open. So he takes a few hits from this thing while he's like wailing on it. And he ends up delivering the final blow right before he gets hit. And then he like falls back down. He's got like one hit point left. But he won. He fucking tanked and killed Floor 74 boss by himself. Because the group that went in before, they didn't even touch his health. There was nothing. They were irrelevant. Anything, the couple of attacks that Asuna did, that was irrelevant. He killed that boss by himself. Which is very impressive. So, anyways, they go back, and then there's a problem. The people at Asuna's guild find out that she's planning on not participating in guild activities because she wants to hang out with Kirito. So the leader of the entire guild, his name is Heathcliff, is like, you know what? Fair's fair. You can take her if you win in a duel against me. But otherwise, she's still got a job to do, and she's going to do it. Oh, and if you lose, you have to join too. Now, we all know Kirito, being the loner that he is, that doesn't sit well with him, but he's like, you're on. Because he just beat the fucking floor 74 boss by himself. He's like, man, I ain't going to lose. And then Heathcliff also adds in, and you can even use your 2 blades. Pretty confident that Heathcliff. And that's where that episode ends. Again, it, like I told y'all, the episode 5 and 6, that's like the garbage bin. But you're on the ride up. You're on the ride up. And when it gets to the top, it's going to go down fast. And I don't mean in a bad way. I mean, like, everything's going to happen all at once. And it's just going to be amazing. I don't know what else to tell you. But that pretty much sums up that. All right. Take it easy, guys.